If this is your first time listening to this podcast, I can assure you that this podcast will be very helpful for you in practicing your listening skills. So this podcast is for people who want to practice their listening, but who still can't understand native speakers when they speak at normal speed or when they speak with other native speakers. If you can't yet understand native speech like that, then this podcast is perfect for you. I'm speaking a little more clearly and a little bit more slowly so that you can understand me better. And so this is the format of the podcast. I talk about a couple different topics each time in a clear and a little bit slower way, but still natural speech. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about my trip to Catalina. So we went for, how many nights was it? 4 nights in total. And this was a family trip. So this was something that my dad kind of gave all of us as a gift. He wanted to take a trip together as a family. And so he gave us this trip as kind of a gift to my sister and her family and to me and my family. And so we all went together, my sister and her husband and their kid, their young son, and my parents, and then me and my wife and my son. So we all went together, and this was special because this was the first real trip that we've taken as a family with kids. So this was something a little bit different from the normal trips that we might take. And so it was really fun to be able to have our small children with us and travel together and have them play together during this trip. It was awesome. And so this was something that allowed us to spend time together, have some quality family time, and just enjoy a few days on this island. So the way that you get to Catalina is by taking a ferry. So when we got settled in the first day and we went out to explore a little bit, we noticed very quickly that the main city where we were, it's called Avalon. Avalon is the only real city on this island, I think. So we noticed really quickly that Avalon is very tiny. In English, the word tiny just means really small. So Avalon is a really tiny city. It's very easy to walk across the whole main part of the city in very little time, much less than an hour, probably less than 30 minutes even. So it's very small, it's very easy to get around, and that was good because we were traveling with young children, and it can be hard to get around when you have toddlers and they walk really slow, or you need to pick them up and carry them and that kind of stuff. Remember that the word toddler refers to a young child who is no longer a baby. So usually we call children toddlers around the age of 2, once they're walking and maybe saying some words or phrases, and they're a little bit past the baby stage. So our kids are toddlers, and so it was good that this city was pretty small to be able to get around easily. And we also didn't bring a stroller for my son. The word stroller refers to the little cart that you use to push your baby or young child around in. So we didn't bring a stroller, so he was either walking or we were carrying him the whole time. And so we walked around the little city and we spent a lot of time at the little beach that they have there. It's a very small strip of sand. There are actually a few strips of sand, so I guess you could say there are a few mini beaches, but they're all very close together, and there isn't a lot of space there. So it's not a very impressive beach environment, really. It's more like a harbor environment. A harbor is a place where there are boats that are parked there, I guess you can say. They're stationed there, and people can spend time in their boats just floating there, or sometimes they take their boats out and go somewhere else, but they keep their boats at this harbor, and that's where they station them for long periods of time. So there's this harbor there, and it's not really like a typical California beach, let's say. So we were able to do a few activities when we were there. Like I said, we spent time at the beach, but maybe the most interesting thing that we did. So a ferry is a boat that you can take, usually for short distances. So we had to take this ferry from the mainland, the coast of California, to the island. And it took about an hour and a half or a little bit less each way. So we all got on this ferry boat and we went and crossed this channel, the area of water between the main coast of California and the islands, and we went across and went to Catalina. It was cool to go there by boat. It was something a little bit unique, and to be honest, I was happy that we didn't need to fly, because I've flown a lot recently and I kind of want a break from flying. So this was much easier. There was much more space. The only difficult thing is that it's possible to get seasick. Getting seasick just means that you feel sick because you're on the water and it's not stable and the boat is moving back and forth. And so if you get motion sickness, then you probably get seasick if you go on boats. Thankfully, I didn't get seasick, but normally I do have this problem. I think my sister felt a little bit seasick when we crossed from the mainland to Catalina, but I felt perfectly fine. So I was very thankful for that. So we arrived there and we quickly went to the Airbnb where we were staying, and we got settled in. In English, when we say that you get settled in somewhere, this just means that you establish yourself, you get comfortable in some place. So we settled in there, and that's where we stayed for the next 4 nights. So this house was a 3-bedroom house, just big enough to fit all of our families, and it didn't have a whole lot. It was a pretty simple house, but it was good because it had these hardwood floors that were great for our kids to play on. They had some car toys with them, and they were able to play and have a lot of fun on these hardwood floors, rolling their cars around and doing different things with their toys there. So even though it was a simple little house, it was perfect for what we needed, and our children definitely enjoyed it. And there were some interesting facts that we learned during that tour. Let me just list a few of them. So there's only one gas station available for the people that live on this island, and it is really expensive. It's the most expensive gas I've ever seen in the US. So that's not a good thing, of course. And there are only a couple gas pumps there, and that's it. It's pretty interesting that there's only one gas station, and there's also only one bank on the island. So there's one bank that everyone banks at. Of course, there are other ATMs, but in terms of the real bank, there's just one. By the way, the word ATM refers to these machines where you can go to withdraw and deposit your money. These are ATMs. And there's only one grocery store. Believe it or not, there's only one big store where you can buy all of your food and things like that. Of course, we went to this grocery store. We had to buy stuff from there. So you don't have a lot of options. You've got one gas station, one bank, one grocery store, and in total, there are only about 4,000 year-round residents. When I use the term year-round, I'm saying that these people live there all year. They don't just come for 1 month on vacation, for example. So in terms of year-round residents, there are only about 4,000, maybe a little bit less. So the tour guide was talking about how that makes it challenging for people who want to have a thriving social life. In English, when we use the adjective thriving, we're talking about something that is very successful and is doing well. So if you want to have a thriving social life, this can be very challenging with only 4,000 year-round residents. So that's a very different life than a lot of us are accustomed to. And a few other notes about Catalina. Real estate is really expensive. The term real estate refers to property like houses and apartments and things like that. So real estate is really expensive. All of the houses are very expensive compared to houses in other parts of the country. Most of the houses that we saw there are worth at least $1 million or much more in many cases. There are many houses there that are worth multiple millions of dollars.